Why start guitar now? If you're like I was, you probably had a lot of excuses as to why not to start, that you're too busy, it's not a priority, you're too old, it's too late. And so many things prevent us from achieving this type of goal. You might look at the instrument and think it's too many strings, it's too complicated. You might look at the size of the instrument and think how, I'm a small woman, how could I possibly play this large instrument? And these are just myths. Anyone can play guitar. We need to stop making excuses. Let's be real, there's no right time, so you're going to have to make time. Especially for women, it's important to choose ourselves sometimes and make time for the things that are important for us. And I'm hoping that by the end of this video, I'll have shared all of the myths about playing guitar, as well as what the next steps are to make it easy and fun to learn guitar. My goal for you is that by the end of this video, you'll be ready to go guitar shopping. I thought I would share that I'm like you. I started my guitar learning journey later in life. To be honest, I never thought I would ever pick up a guitar. It just was not on my radar. I hope that this video will give you the idea that something is possible that maybe you thought was not possible before, and that it can be done. You can start to learn, and you can really have a lot of fun with it. Myth number one is that it's hard to play guitar. And if you look at the instrument on the surface, it's 6 strings. There's all these frets you have to deal with. And there's the size of the guitar is pretty large. And while physically this is what it looks like, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's hard. And I want to help you, show you that you can play guitar regardless of your size, your hand size, your instrument size, and that you can overcome that. And really learning any instrument is going to be hard in the beginning, or maybe a bit frustrating. But if you think of it in terms of having fun, then you won't have that worry anymore. And with guitar, it's not just about playing, it's playing to have fun and viewing it as a fun instrument versus some sort of torture. Myth number 2 is that you have to be naturally talented to play guitar. And that is just not the case. You will start out like everyone else on a learning. You start with very basics, and you have to learn over time, and gradually you'll get better. And while you'll need to put in time, 15 minutes a day, to gradually get better, this is the path that every professional has also had to go down. And while some professionals started at a very young age, it really doesn't matter what age you start, it's that you actually start. This particular myth is specifically for the women out there, but it's that playing guitar does not have to be just a guy thing, that really it can be a male or female can play guitar. There is this change that has been happening where more women are playing guitar, and according to some actual data, 50% of new learners are actually women. So while back in the 80s, less women were playing guitar and it wasn't viewed as like a feminine, I guess, instrument to play, it has definitely become more of that. So there's a lot more women out there playing and learning. And so there's a lot more community for women to play guitar. If you like this video so far, please make sure to like, comment, or subscribe. Thanks for supporting my channel. So the next thing I want to talk to is why you should start now and some of the benefits that you can get from playing guitar. And one of the first ones that I noticed is the stress relief. So by playing an instrument and you have this vibration from the instrument as well as you're singing and then hearing the melodies, it definitely can be a stress reliever for you. Another one is that because you're learning something new and you're creating these new skill sets, you're going to have more confidence in yourself and increase your self-esteem. And so by being able to have this skill, maybe outside of a work or family skill set, we would say, you can have something that you own from a skill perspective, and that can be really valuable and helpful to you to feel more confident in yourself. And so it can really increase that. By learning guitar, and also singing, you can then branch into more creative pursuits like writing songs or creating your own music and creating something unique. And so while not everyone goes in this direction, it is an opportunity to express yourself creatively. Learning guitar is a lifelong journey, so I view it as you're never going to get bored with this instrument. And if you get bored, you'll just move into some other part of guitar. So to give an example, I started with a classical nylon string guitar, then I moved to a steel string guitar, then I have been doing different types of strumming patterns, and then you can move into things like individual picking of notes, and then never mind all the different songs you can choose. And so the list goes on of the ways that you can progress in your experience with guitar. And I think this is really cool because not every hobby, a lot of hobbies you start and you do that hobby for a while and then you kind of get bored of it. And with playing guitar, I just don't see that same type of experience. It's really hard to get bored with it. The next thing is there is a community around guitar. So other guitar players, you can find community organizations in your area that other people are playing guitar. And even online on YouTube, for my channel, I even have a community where people are starting to engage more and really communicate and share their learnings and experiences. And so wherever you can find that community, whether it's in person or it's online in a Reddit chat, or whether it's on YouTube and commenting on different videos, or talking in the other communication methods like WhatsApp. So there's lots of opportunity to become part of a larger community and then learn from others and have sort of that support network. The last thing I want to talk about regarding playing guitar and the benefits to you is the element of fun. I started playing simple songs like This Land Is Your Land, and I don't know, very simplistic songs. And, over time, I've picked up a lot of different songs, even from my, younger days or as a teenager, songs that I'll hear on the radio and think, oh, I should, play that song. And so that's where the fun comes in, is when you get excited about that next song to learn or that next thing to do. If it isn't fun, you won't play more. So I always think of what would be fun for me to do and really progressing with my own journey. Some people use a teacher or have other methods, courses, and programs to learn. So from that aspect, keeping it fun, and if it's fun for you to go to a class, that's great. If it's fun for you to watch YouTube videos, then do that. So it really just depends on what works for you. The reality is that the fun from playing guitar really comes from the practice. So practice is learning, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be enjoyable. And if you think in terms of if you've ever done yoga, when you step on the mat, you're not really competing against other people. You're arriving on the mat for yourself, for your practice, and it's to experience it and learn and get better. And there isn't any competition. So really, guitar is sort of the same thing, and that it's also a lifelong journey. You're not going to learn everything right away and become an expert. That's not how it works. It can take years. But the idea is that you're showing up every day and having fun and enjoying as you're learning. At this point, I hope I've gotten you excited enough to think about next steps and getting ready to go buy a guitar and then plan out what you want to do next with your journey. And the first thing I wanted to do is go through the high level steps of what you need and what should be next. And The first thing is you would need a guitar. So whether you buy one or borrow one, it doesn't really matter, is finding a guitar. That's the very first step. And finding something not expensive, because you don't want to get too deep into or getting stuck with something that's really expensive. So I kind of go on the low to medium sort of quality and cost balance. The next thing is the determine how you want to learn. And I mentioned the idea of using YouTube or a teacher. So figure out what is going to really work for you and where you might be able to get that education or experiences from. You can do simple things like sign up for Ultimate Guitar. That can be a great way to start learning, because you can access so many different songs, and there's books and there's a lot of education opportunities there. By the way, I'm not promoting that specifically, but I personally use it and love it and have really gotten into using it quite a bit. Another thing is that when you start, just start with something really simple. So learn just a few simple, most popular common chords. And if you learn those few, you'll be able to unlock and be able to play a lot of different songs. So don't think, oh, there's this chart with, 50 different chords on it. I need to learn all of them. You don't. You can just learn a few basic ones and get started. And again, I keep referring back to the fun. So if you learn 4 or 5 chords, that seems more doable than 50 different chords that most of them you'll probably never play. As you start to practice or plan for your practice, I suggest people play at least 10 to 15 minutes every single day in order to keep growing your skills. The reality is, the more you play, the better you will get, but every person is different in what time they have to dedicate. But if you do 15 minutes, you should see some progress over time. And to give you an example, I have been practicing 3 songs a day for the last week. And if each song is 2 to 3 minutes and you're taking a few minutes, kind of time between, you should be able to finish that in 10 to 15 minutes. Even if you're tuning your guitar, you should have plenty of time. So that should give you enough to get started. Another thing is uh, you're going to need to be patient with yourself in those first days, because it is hard and frustrating at times in those first beginning, when you're trying to get your hand to make these chords on the guitar that you're not, it just feels awkward. But don't worry about that. Just kind of think about the goal later. And then the other thing that a lot of people experience is their fingers hurt because of the strings. And depending on if you're using a nylon or steel string guitar, it can be different experience for each person. So you might have some bit of pain. So again, go back to the 10 to 15 minute thing. If you're playing 10 to 15 minutes, probably shouldn't bother you too much. And gradually your fingers will have more callus on them. And that will be history. I think I've never really had true calluses on my fingers. I just never played too much too fast. So yeah, keep that in mind. And then the last thing is finding your community and figuring out some accountability process. So being able to find other people who play guitar that you can share your experiences or questions, that is always really helpful. And then just in conclusion, so if you have been, dreaming about playing guitar, uh, stop dreaming and start doing. Today is the time to start. And as we go into 2026, this is a great time to begin. There's no time like the present. There's no need to wait any further. Just get started. And, you know, an important thing to remember as you're thinking about this concept that you're going to have to spend a lot of time learning is that you should be enjoying the learning. So figuring out ways to have fun along the journey. And the more that you enjoy the journey, the more you'll want to play. So each day that you're practicing, it should be fun, that it propels you to want to then practice the next day and the next hour or the next minute, whatever the case may be. So to help you get started on your journey, I have a couple of videos you may want to check out. One of them is on the very basics that you need to get started playing guitar, what minimalistic equipment you really need to start playing guitar. And then the other one is a comparison of a classical guitar, which is a nylon string, and a steel string guitar, and a comparison of those so that you can learn more about that. And I think and this again, I'm kind of aiming this video a bit more towards women. If you're concerned about having too big of a guitar, the guitars that I review in that video are both 3/4 size, so a little bit smaller, a little bit easier to handle. And a lot of women tend to gravitate towards those, especially as you're starting. But really, those instruments are good for really anyone. Even experienced players will, have one of these smaller guitars that they can just grab and play. So I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you next time.